Hello, I hope you're all doing well. I'm really pleased to be back to share with you again today. I wanted to talk to you about some of my favourite things to do. I love to read. I really love to read, and when I was a little girl I would read whatever I could get my hands on. I've seen some pictures on Facebook recently saying that in the olden days we read the backs of cereal packets rather than devices, and that certainly was true for me. However, when I started studying at university, I found that I did kind of lose some of my real love of reading, partly because I had to read quite a lot of things, and some of the stuff that I had to read was quite, shall we say, hard to digest. But since I finished uni in the last month, I have been enjoying reading a bit more and certainly feel like I'm getting back to my old love of this. As a reader, I do love books. I do read on a device quite a lot, but I do like to have lovely books, and two of my recent lockdown purchases have been books. I bought a lovely new Bible, which is this one. It's a journaling Bible, and so that means that there is some spaces, big margins and big blank margins that I can write in or draw in, and that's really helpful when I'm reading and reflecting on God's Word. I'd like to take some time just now to read a passage from the Bible, and then I'd like to share a story with you. The passage that I'm going to read is from Isaiah chapter 11, maybe verses that we more normally hear during Advent, but I feel it's relevant to today's world. A shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse. From his roots a branch will bear fruit. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and of understanding, the Spirit of counsel and of might, the Spirit of the knowledge and fear of the Lord. And he will delight in the fear of the Lord. He will not judge by what he sees with his eyes, or decide by what he hears with his ears. But with righteousness he will judge the needy, with justice he will give decisions for the poor of the earth. He will strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, with the breath of his lips he will slay the wicked. Righteousness will be his belt, and faithfulness the sash around his waist. Amen. Throughout history, God has spoken through his prophets to show how unhappy he is when people are oppressed and treated badly, especially by those who claim to follow him. The Bible fortunately also talks of the great mercy that God shows to his people in allowing them to try to do better. The passage we've just heard from Isaiah looks forward to a world where justice and peace reign. The other new book that I wanted to share with you is about a little idea and what happens to that idea when it's nurtured. The book is called What Do We Do with an Idea? And it's written by somebody called Kobe Yamada, and it's illustrated by Ame Bism. The book tells of a story of a child who has an idea that just wouldn't leave them alone. And the idea followed them about, just wouldn't go away. And they began to nurture the idea, and they ignored the taunts of those who said the idea was weird or it was wrong. And they began to appreciate the idea more and more. And the idea grew bigger and more important. And eventually it took flight, and it made the world different. And the last page of the book answers the question, what do we do with an idea? With an idea, you change the world. So when I was reading this lovely story that I would encourage you all to buy or to borrow, I got it from Amazon, but I'm sure you can get it elsewhere, and probably from the library. And I was thinking about the message, and I was reflecting on Christianity, our faith story. And our faith story grew from small roots, from a small shoot from the stump of a branch, and it grew to be a worldwide movement. But our world is still broken, and the good news that Jesus came to free us from the chains of this brokenness, from the chains of sin, still is a message that needs to be shared. We, as Christians, as followers of Jesus, We are bearers of this message of salvation, of this message of freedom, and we can be part of the change that the world needs. We're challenged here in Scotland in the year 2020 still. Injustices happen every day. People go without to feed their children. Others have so much they've thrown food away. People are turned away from jobs, from houses, due to the colour of their skin or the country of their birth. Poverty and racism are unfortunately a real thing for people in our country. And we're all guilty of looking the other way or staying silent when we should speak up. And we know that's not good enough. And we know this because our Bible tells us, throughout the Bible, the message tells us this. As Christians, as people who together are seeking to follow Jesus, we know that he came to change the world. And he calls us to value each other because we are sisters and brothers. We're children of God. And we hold a powerful message in our hands. This message is the vision of a new kingdom, of a world where old values are turned upside down and peace and justice is a way of life for all. That our broken world will be transformed into the peaceable kingdom that was spoken about in Isaiah 11. The hope that we have in Jesus, the hope of a better world for all, the freedom from sin, this is a world-changing idea, and one that I am excited to be part of. That's also part of the great joy of following Jesus. Despite the fact he could do a far better job than I could of changing the world, he wants us, he wants me, he wants you to be part of it. So let's keep on nurturing our faith, growing the message, the idea that we have to share with others. So how can we do that? We can keep reading the beautiful words of the Bible and sharing together with people in worship. We can also seek to learn from those who know more than us about these subjects, learning about institutional wrongs and what we can do to put things right. It may mean helping others to find out information that will help them understand better the role that we play in racism, in oppression and injustice. And once we know that better, we can do better. These are not easy tasks, and I'm a beginner at it all. But I believe we're called by Jesus to stand with those who are being oppressed and those who live in poverty. We too can be part of changing the world through him and his Spirit working in us. Amen. Take care, and I hope to see you all really soon.